I've been working as an Uber and InDrive driver in Cochabamba for a while now, mostly pulling late-night shifts on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays during the club and party season. One Saturday night, however, something happened that still sends chills down my spine. Have you ever experienced an encounter that made you question what's real? It all started around 1:30 a.m. while I was doing my usual rounds, mostly picking up riders from local clubs. That night, heavy rain began to pour, a common scene during the rainy season here. At approximately 2:50 a.m., I received a ride request to pick up a young woman from a nightclub. She was heading to a destination well outside the city in another municipality. While we were on our way, driving across a large bridge on the main road, she mentioned something odd. She explained that on that very bridge there was a small cross, a memorial dedicated to a woman who had tragically died by the river. She wasn't sure of the exact details of her death, but local legend said that late at night some people had seen her standing beside her memorial, gazing silently at the flowing river. Does that sound like just another ghost story, or could there be something more to it? I admit, I doubted her tale at first. After all, the bridge was always well lit, and even though it was the middle of the night, there was still some traffic. I tried to steer the conversation away from spooky topics, thinking she was just trying to spook me, especially since I had my own strange experiences on the road before. But fate had its own plans. Around 3:20 a.m., I reached her destination and safely dropped her off. Feeling a bit exhausted, I decided to head back home. On my return trip, I found myself approaching the same bridge again. And then it happened. I swear I saw a white figure standing exactly where she had said the memorial was located. The heavy rain made it hard to see clearly, and I was driving fast, but I distinctly noticed what appeared to be a person in white. Could it have been just a trick of the light, or was it something truly paranormal? Before I could shake off the eerie sight, another bizarre incident unfolded. I received a new ride request on InDrive that caught my attention immediately because the passenger had no profile picture, no name, and 0 ratings. It was odd, but I chalked it up to a glitch in the system. After all, these things happen from time to time. I sent the ride offer, and once it was accepted, I drove to the pickup location. When I arrived, I discovered that the pickup spot was in an open field behind the local forensic institute, a morgue, essentially. As soon as I tapped the "I'm here" button, the app indicated that the passenger was on the way. While I was waiting, the music playing on my phone, normally steady, began to distort and cut out. I double-checked that my phone wasn't connected to Bluetooth, but it was just me with my cable playing my tunes. Have you ever experienced technology acting up at the worst possible moment? Then, out of nowhere, I felt something that I can hardly explain. The rear right door of my car slowly creaked open, and I heard a faint sound like someone climbing in. "Good morning," I called out, half jokingly, but there was no answer, not even the sound of the door closing behind me. I quickly turned around, scanning the back seat and the area near the door, but there was absolutely no one there. My heart pounded as I wondered, was that just my imagination, or did someone actually board my car? Almost immediately, the atmosphere inside the car turned frigid. Not long after that unsettling moment, the ride request was canceled, leaving me feeling incredibly uneasy. I considered getting out to shut the door myself, but the fear of a potential robbery kept me frozen in place. Instead, I shifted the car into reverse and braked hard, and somehow, the door closed on its own. But just as I began to relax, the engine sputtered and died. As I tried to restart the car, I heard, clear as day, the cry of a woman and the sound of something hitting the rear window. Panic took hold, and I hit the accelerator, not daring to look back until I reached the main avenue. At a red light, I swear I felt a cold hand brush against my shoulder. I glanced into the central rearview mirror, and there she was, a pale, almost ethereal woman with empty, soulless eye sockets staring right back at me. Can you imagine the terror of seeing something so inhuman, so close to you? After that, I managed to regain control of my vehicle, and eventually, the disturbing presence faded away. I pulled over to assess the damage. A ruined tire, and a lingering chill that wouldn't leave me. When I finally got home, I told my family what had happened, but they brushed it off as a hallucination brought on by sleep deprivation, or perhaps just a trick of the mind. My grandfather, however, insisted that I take the car for a blessing, just in case something had boarded it that night. Since that eerie night, I haven't felt that bone-chilling cold or noticed any other strange presence in my car. But every time I drive at night now, I can't help but wonder, what really happened out there on that rainy bridge and in that deserted field? And have you ever felt that inexplicable sense of being watched or touched by something beyond our understanding?
America is home to some of the most extraordinary geological features on Earth, but few are as quietly mysterious as its hidden caves. These underground wonders have captivated scientists, explorers, and curious adventurers for centuries, yet they remain shrouded in secrecy. Why? Because beneath America's surface lies a world that is as dangerous as it is fascinating. Let's start with Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, the longest cave system in the world, stretching on for over 400 miles. Mammoth Cave has been explored for generations, yet much of it still remains unmapped. Why? Well, some passages are so narrow and treacherous that even the most skilled speleologists can't traverse them. But here's where the mystery deepens. Strange air currents often blow through uncharted areas, hinting at massive secret chambers waiting to be discovered. Could these hidden spaces hold fossils, precious minerals, or perhaps evidence of past civilizations that used the cave as a refuge? No one knows. Then there's Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico, another marvel of nature. Its grand big room is larger than 6 football fields combined. Yet it's the stories of peculiar sounds and shadows deep within that have sparked the wildest theories. Stories of lost explorers and undiscovered creatures that some claim live out of sight. And while science firmly dismisses these tales, Carlsbad's unexplored passages make even skeptics wonder, what else is down there? But not all of America's caves are natural. Take Missouri, the self-proclaimed cave state, where limestone has carved out thousands of caverns over the millennia. During Prohibition, many of these caves became hideouts for bootleggers, their deep chambers perfect for stashing barrels of illegal whiskey. While some have been found, local legends persist about hidden tunnels still filled with artifacts, or even treasure left behind by criminals who never returned. And where geology meets folklore, things become even more bizarre. In Pennsylvania, the lengthy underground passages of Laurel Caverns have been the subject of Native American legends for centuries. Some tribes believed these caves were sacred entrances to the spirit world, while others feared they were gateways to something far darker. Those walking through the caves today often claim to hear faint whispers or feel sudden drops in temperature, phenomena modern science can't fully explain. What keeps these hidden caves so alluring is the uncertainty. They are delicate ecosystems, home to creatures that exist nowhere else on Earth, like eyeless fish and blind salamanders, living proof of nature's power to adapt to the unseen. But they are also tombs of history, holding fossilized evidence of prehistoric life, remnants of ancient art, and eerie clues to America's forgotten past. The truth is, we've only scratched the surface of what lies below. Whether it's the possibility of vast, unexplored caverns reaching miles deep, or the secrets of human history locked away in their shadows, America's hidden caves are a reminder of just how much there is we don't know about our world. Maybe the next mystery is just a cavern away, but would you dare to venture in?
Europe, a land steeped in history, where every cobblestone street whispers tales of the past. But among its most enduring and enigmatic landmarks are the castles, towering fortresses and ornate palaces that hold the weight of centuries within their walls. Thousands of these structures dot the landscape, each one unique, each one a chapter in a sprawling saga of war, power, and mystery. Yet behind their grandeur, behind the romantic images of knights and royalty, lie secrets. Some enchanting, others sinister, and a few downright chilling. Let's unravel the hidden stories of Europe's most mysterious castles. We begin in Romania, at Bran Castle. Tucked high in the Carpathian Mountains, this imposing fortress has captured imaginations for centuries. Often dubbed Dracula's Castle, it's said to have inspired Bram Stoker's tale of the infamous vampire. But here's the twist. The actual Vlad the Impaler, a brutal 15th century ruler thought to inspire Dracula, likely never even set foot in the castle. Even so, Bran Castle carries its own aura of darkness. With shadowy halls and hidden passageways, the place feels alive with untold stories. Visitors have reported hearing heavy footsteps echoing down empty corridors. Some claim to have seen figures vanishing into the walls. But who or what haunts Bran Castle? Is it the tortured souls of those executed within its grounds? Or is the darkness purely the result of centuries of folklore seeping into the stones themselves? Now, let's travel west to the rugged countryside of Ireland. Here stands Leap Castle, a place shrouded in blood-soaked legend. The heart of its sinister reputation is the Bloody Chapel. During the 1500s, a vicious power struggle erupted between members of the O'Carroll clan, the castle's ruling family. One brother, gripped by rage, murdered another at the altar during a religious ceremony. To this day, guests claim to hear ghostly cries echoing from the chapel as if the past is playing out again and again. And the horrors don't end there. Beneath the castle, an oubliette, a secret dungeon, was uncovered during renovations. It was filled with human bones, the victims of a cruel fate, captured enemies thrown into a pit, left to starve or die impaled upon stakes. Leap Castle is no mere ruin. It's a graveyard of betrayal and suffering. Are its ghosts simply history refusing to stay silent? But castles don't only hide the supernatural. Some secrets are buried in the very stones themselves. Like Nottingham Castle in England. Famous for its associations with Robin Hood, its grandeur hides a maze of underground passages. These tunnels, uncovered by archaeologists in 2013, were likely used by smugglers, rebels, and spies. They even played a key role in the escape of King Richard III during the siege. Imagine sneaking beneath the castle, torches flickering, the weight of history pressing down on you. What other stories might those tunnels tell, if only they could speak? And then there's Germany's Neuschwanstein Castle, the quintessential fairy tale castle, looking as though it leapt straight from the pages of a storybook. But looks can be deceiving. Beneath its picturesque beauty lies a labyrinth of subterranean tunnels. Many believe these were used for more pragmatic and perhaps alarming purposes. During World War II, it's said the Nazis hid stolen treasures in these tunnels, though the full extent of this hoard remains unknown. Was Neuschwanstein more than a pretty face, a hiding place for priceless artifacts lost to time? Finally, we come to perhaps the darkest secret of all, Hauska Castle in the Czech Republic. Built in the 13th century, this castle defies logic right from the start. Built far from any major trade routes, with no clear defensive purpose, its construction raises a troubling question. Why here? Local legends may hold the answer. Beneath the castle is said to lie a bottomless pit, the so-called gateway to hell. According to folklore, demonic creatures emerged from this gaping hole, tormenting the locals until they built the castle, sealing the pit within its walls. Even today, investigations report strange activity, unexplained noises rising from the ground beneath the castle. Was Hauska Castle simply a structure of stone, or was it a barrier between this world and something much darker? So, what is it about these castles? Is it the weight of their violent pasts, centuries of human suffering that seem to cling to the very walls, or something even more inexplicable, forces beyond our understanding watching us from the shadows? One thing is certain, Europe's castles are more than just architectural marvels. They are silent, brooding keepers of secrets, grim guardians of mysteries that challenge even the bravest to uncover them. Do you dare step inside one of these haunted fortresses? And if you do, what might you find waiting for you? Because in these castles, the past may not be as distant as it seems. My family has lived in Texas for years. One night, my uncle was dropping his girlfriend off at her house after a family gathering. He recounts that on his way back, around 10 p.m., public transportation had already stopped running, so he had to wait. Along the way, he came upon a car wash, where plenty of dogs usually bark at anyone crossing in front of the business. But when my uncle passed by, the dogs reacted completely oppositely. They began to whimper and howl. That's when he knew something was amiss. He slightly turned his head and noticed a large dog trailing behind him. The animal's size was not normal. Its coat, as dark as the night, and its eyes, glowing a bright white, signaled a threat. Trying to remain calm and act as if nothing unusual had happened, he quickened his pace. Although his girlfriend lived only 20 minutes away, it felt as if he wasn't making any progress. Growing increasingly agitated, he silently prayed for rescue, wishing that if evil were after him, a light would appear to save him. Just then, in the middle of the road, his grandmother's dog suddenly appeared by his side to accompany him home. On the way, the dog began barking and growling at something behind them, trying to keep whatever was following at bay. When my uncle reached his house's fence, he turned back and saw that eerie dog making a U-turn into the darkness of the streets. Thanks to the family dog, he arrived safely, and as a token of gratitude, he shared some of the bread he had with it. My uncle would have liked the story to end there, but 3 days later, the dog vanished, and no one ever discovered its fate. He still laments this day, believing the dog sacrificed itself to protect him. Since then, that entity has never reappeared among us or the neighbors. This story wasn't mine. It was told by an acquaintance in Hidalgo, and I'm here to pass along the same shiver-inducing chill it once gave me. Later, let me share another tale. His grandfather in his youth, the protagonist of a different, equally bizarre episode. A man who spent time in jail after paying for his actions that fateful day. On a cool, unusually silent night, this man was riding his horse home after working in the fields. Abruptly, he stopped when a lamb emerged from the bushes in one of the fields, blocking his path. Even though he signaled his horse to simply avoid the animal, the horse recoiled as if terrified. The man was astonished to see a lamb at night, since these creatures usually sleep. But this was no ordinary lamb. It was large, meaty, and clearly a valuable specimen roaming freely at night. Perhaps it was a warning. Not wanting to let the opportunity pass, and with no other lambs or owners in sight, he dismounted with the intention of keeping the lamb for a barbecue. With that thought, he drew his revolver and fired 6 consecutive shots. Yet the animal did not die. It writhed silently. Then he decided to lasso it and tie it to a tree until it bled out. He camped beside it through the night to ensure it wouldn't escape. At dawn, trembling, he discovered that where he had kept the lamb, there was instead an old man, naked and bound to the tree, showing no signs of life from bullet wounds. The man was later arrested for taking the life of that old man, and though he tried to explain his side, no one believed him.
Imagine this: a quiet, rainy night, a street illuminated only by faint flickers of lamplight, and a young woman walking home alone in the year 1955. Her name? Martha Collins, a kind, ordinary woman with a bright future ahead of her. Something unimaginable was about to unfold. That night, Martha vanished, without a trace. Her family searched tirelessly and desperately. The police scoured the area. Flyers were distributed. Neighbors questioned. Search parties combed through the surrounding woods. But there was no sign of Martha. Not a single clue to explain how she could simply disappear. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and eventually, months blurred into decades. By the time the 1980s rolled around, Martha's case file was covered in dust. Her family and friends had long mourned her, believing they would never see her again. But fate had other plans, or perhaps something far stranger. In 2005, exactly 50 years to the day since her mysterious disappearance, a frail yet oddly familiar woman walked into a police station in Illinois. She looked lost, cold, confused, as if she had stepped right out of another world. Approaching the front desk, she trembled as she spoke just 6 chilling words.
I want to go home, but this isn't the time I came from.
The officer on duty furrowed his brow. What did she mean? This isn't the time? When asked for her name, her response sent shivers through the room.
Martha Collins.
The officer's jaw dropped. That name shouldn't have meant anything, except it did. It had haunted the local files of cold cases for half a century. How could this be possible? A quick record search confirmed the staggering truth. Against all logic, this was the Martha Collins who had disappeared in 1955, 50 long years ago. But as shocking as her return was, there was something far more unexplainable about her. Martha hadn't aged, not as a 50-year absence would suggest. At most, she looked a few years older than she had in the photographs from the mid-50s. Her skin was smooth, her posture strong, her entire body seemingly untouched by the passage of time. Medical examinations only deepened the enigma. She carried no scars, no damage, no malnourishment, nothing to suggest she had been wandering the earth for 5 decades. And when the questioning began, her words raised even more questions and answered none. With trembling hands, Martha described a place filled with lights, an environment where time didn't move. She spoke of voices, distant and strange, murmuring in the background. But I don't remember. Anything else? She whispered, shaking her head. Where had she been? A hidden dimension? An alien world? A glitch in the fabric of time? Experts and investigators were baffled. There were whispers of alien abduction, theories of time travel, and even darker speculations about shadowy experiments or government secrets. But no concrete evidence ever surfaced. Martha's story defied all logic, leaving only questions where answers should have been. Her return was as mysterious as her disappearance, and to this day, no one knows how or why Martha Collins reappeared after 50 years, completely untouched by time. What's your theory? Did she cross into another timeline? Was she frozen in time itself? Or could there be forces beyond our understanding at play? One thing's for certain. This tale of the woman who defied time is a mystery that may never be solved. So what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love unraveling stories of the unexplained, like this video and hit subscribe for more mysteries that will leave you wondering what else is out there.
I've always believed that some houses carry memories that refuse to fade. A notion I first encountered in my childhood home, a place steeped in inexplicable occurrences that I can scarcely put into words. When I moved into a new house after falling ill, my parents insisted it would be different, that nothing strange would happen here. Yet, almost immediately after settling in, I felt an undercurrent of unease that I couldn't shake. The house, built on the remnants of old train tracks that had been removed and replaced by a road, held its own peculiar charm. One room in particular, dubbed the Orange Room because of its bright orange carpet, became the center of my growing disquiet. The Orange Room was small, almost like a secondary living room, situated in the middle of the house and connected to the main living area. It was a space I was forced to traverse in order to reach anywhere else in the home, and from the moment we moved in, I felt something was off about it. Although the nightmares I once had in our old house had ceased, there was always an inexplicable chill about this room that made me wonder if the past had not entirely left me behind. I was only 9 years old when I first encountered the odd phenomenon, a train whistle that echoed through the Orange Room. I was playing with Legos and gazing out of the large windows, expecting the usual quiet of our new surroundings, only to be startled by a sound that resembled a distant train whistle. The area around the house was quiet. There hadn't been any trains for miles. I asked my mom, who dismissed it as the sound of a truck horn, but even then I knew the difference, for I had always been fascinated by trains. I tried to convince myself that it was just my imagination, a remnant of memories from a haunted childhood, but the feeling of unease lingered. As time went by, strange incidents began to punctuate the ordinary rhythm of daily life. I remember one night when I was about 12 years old, an age when I was beginning to understand that the world was not as straightforward as it seemed. I was sitting on the sofa in the living room, a space filled with soft light and comforting Halloween decorations that my mom had set out during the fall. The clock in the living room, heavy and old-fashioned, hung above the fireplace, and below it rested the mantel adorned with cherished family photographs. That night, as the house lay quiet and everyone slept soundly, a loud crashing noise suddenly shattered the silence. My mom, startled awake by the sound, immediately called my dad. They hurried down to the living room, and what they found defied all logic. The clock, which should have simply fallen straight onto the mantel, was instead found lying face down about 10 feet away from the fireplace, as if it had been flung across the room. Neither my mom nor my dad could explain how the clock had moved without disturbing the rest of the room. Everything else appeared untouched, as if frozen in time. That incident, inexplicable and surreal, was only the beginning. In the following years, minor disturbances continued to occur. In winter, when the world outside was blanketed in snow, our family cat began acting strangely. She would fix her unblinking stare on empty corners, her fur standing on end as she hissed at unseen threats. At times, she would pace restlessly and vanish under furniture, behavior completely alien to the cat I had known before. Though these events seemed isolated at first, they slowly wove a pattern of the inexplicable, leaving me increasingly uneasy. Then, one chilly evening, when I was 16, while I was engrossed in late-night video games, I decided to switch off my console around 2:30 a.m. and prepare for bed. I always made it a point to check the big bay window by the orange room to ensure the outside lights were off, as a habit formed from past experiences. That night, as I looked out, I noticed something odd. The lights were indeed off, but there was a presence staring back at me. Panic surged through my veins as I quickly retreated, waking my parents with a whisper of alarm. I explained that I saw what looked like a man with an unnaturally long face peering in through the window. My dad, ever the protector, grabbed a metal bar and went to inspect the living room. However, despite a thorough search, there were no footprints or tracks in the freshly fallen snow. The only evidence was the lingering feeling of being watched and the inexplicable sound of someone or something moving silently in the dark. In the following weeks, I experienced more unsettling encounters. One night, while lying on the sofa in the living room, I woke up to a strange sound. It was as if a soft, almost imperceptible voice had echoed in the room, leaving my ears ringing for nearly 30 seconds. The lights above me flickered erratically, casting shifting shadows that danced along the walls. I tried to calm myself.
It was the dead of winter, January 2nd, 1935, when a tall, well-dressed man stepped through the doors of the President Hotel in Kansas City. His hat cast a shadow over his face, but his sharp, darting eyes caught the attention of the concierge. He spoke in a low, deliberate voice, each word carrying an unusual weight. Room 1046. I don't want to be disturbed. He signed in under the name Roland T. Owen and carried nothing more than a small suitcase. It was the kind of suitcase you'd take for an overnight business trip, certainly not for an extended visit. Without another word, he took the key and disappeared into the elevator. What no one knew at the time was that room 1046 would become the setting of one of the most chilling, unsolved cases in history. The first day passed quiet, but not ordinary. Roland was peculiar. He kept the room shrouded in darkness, allowing only the dim glow of a single table lamp. When the maid entered to clean, he stopped her and said gruffly, "Don't turn on the lights too much." He spoke on the phone often, though in whispers. One call stood out. "No, Don," he murmured. "I don't want to do it. I'll wait a little longer." Who was Don? What was he waiting for? The maid didn't ask, though the unease began to grow. The next day, Roland's demeanor shifted. When the maid returned to clean, she noticed something troubling, bruises across his face. She asked if he was all right. "I fell in the bathroom," he said, his tone detached and hollow. But his posture, the stillness in the dark room, betrayed a quiet readiness, as if he were waiting for something, or someone. Later that day, another whispered phone call. "All right, Don, I'll do as you said." But whatever was planned, Roland never got the chance. By the third day, the unsettling quiet in room 1046 broke. That morning, when the hotel staff noticed his phone off the hook, a bellboy was sent to check on him. The boy knocked, but there was no response. They tried the door. It was locked from the inside. After some effort, they entered, and what they found sent shockwaves through the hotel. Roland was collapsed on the floor. Blood seeped into the carpet beneath him. Deep stab wounds covered his chest, and a rope was knotted tightly around his neck. He was barely alive, but somehow conscious. A bellboy, trembling, asked,
Who did this to you?
Through cracked lips and a weak whisper, Roland managed 2 chilling words. Moments later, his life slipped away. The investigation that followed only deepened the mystery. There was no weapon in the room. The door had been locked from the inside. His suitcase was missing, and the name Roland T. Owen was fake. There was no trace of the man anywhere. Several witnesses reported hearing a second male voice in the room during his final night. But Don, if that was even his real name, was never identified. The FBI and local police pored over the evidence, but the questions seemed to multiply. Who was Roland T. Owen? Why was he here? And who, or what, did he meet in room 1046? To this day, over 88 years later, the case remains unsolved. Some say it was an underworld deal gone wrong. Others believe it was something more sinister. But one thing is clear. Roland took his secrets to the grave. What do you think? Could the answer still be out there? Or should some mysteries stay buried?